Hi, guys. So, super pumped to be here. Thank you. I'm Wu.
I'm Adam.
And wow, it's so special to be here, actually. The main reason why we're here is the blank canvas, and we're going to share a lot about blank canvas with y'all. But especially to me, it's super good to be here at Games for Change. Actually, what got me into VR development and Unity development in 2010 was Games for Change. The first edition of Games for Change in Sao Paulo, my good friend Jay, which was the evangelist of Unity in South America back then, he was making a talk about using Unity outside gaming for stuff like biotechnology. And that got me into Unity development for real. And then in Sao Paulo, over all those years, we hosted together all the official Unity meetups for the community, where we used a lot of, the first headsets available, like the DK1, DK2s, HoloLenses, Vives, and so on. And we've done that in partnership with Unity and HTC in a very open way, including with a lot of people that were involved in Games for Change and a lot of indie studios. So it's amazing to be here and give a little bit back to this community. So for the past 8, 9 years, we've been doing a lot of virtual reality experiences, trying to stretch the limits of technology, and usually doing that in partnership with some of those brands. We did all the official launches with Google with Flag. We've done a couple projects with AI and VR with IBM. A lot of stuff with Samsung, like launching the Gear VR, the first consumer virtual reality headset. But that's not the reason why I'm here today. The reason why I'm here today is to talk about a very personal project, a project that's called Blank Canvas, and it's a very personal thing. It originated from a very personal life story, and my good friend Adam Horowitz has been with me since the very beginning. Doing this thing, making this thing a reality, and we have a lot of awesome news to share with you. Before we go on, I'd like to introduce you to Blank Canvas.
In the last 10 years, our relationship with our body's biology has changed completely. This is all because of disruptive innovations at the intersection of biotech and information.
In 2013, I lost my mom to a very aggressive form of cancer. And having gone through a fierce battle for 3 years, made us realize that many technologies today could reduce so much suffering if they were available to the masses. Blank Canvas was born from this very personal experience. Technologies like CRISPR, oncolytic viral therapy, and CAR T-cell therapy have the potential not only to eradicate chronic diseases, which is a moral imperative, but also to reduce costs of healthcare. And these technologies are not for the future. All the subjects curated for Blank Canvas are already in late stages of development and about to be approved by the FDA and become commercially available for humans.
A lot of these innovations happened at scales you just can't even comprehend. And you make them this big, and you live inside them, it totally changes how you relate to the concepts. And you actually feel like you're part of it. And you actually feel like, maybe I understand this and I could change it. And there's nothing more powerful than inspiring anybody who went online to see some new content and said, actually, I'm inside it. I'm a part of this. It's not something in front of me that's going to pass by me.
But healthcare is just the tip of the iceberg. We're also using biotech to tackle environmental and industrial problems, impacting many key areas of our society. And the Blank Canvas is our way to give voice to the brightest scientists in the world that are proving through clinical trials and other forms of research that we actually do have a good shot at solving some of the most challenging problems of the world today and accelerate that revolution, creating awareness and scaling those technologies.
We wanted these ideas to come to life, to leap off the textbook page for a fully immersed experience at the same scales where these awesome innovations happen. So, we used virtual reality to build this infinite canvas, where micro-scale science becomes your world. Cool. So, I'm the tiny person in that video. And my background is mostly in the sciences, and specifically in neuroscience, but I got lucky enough to run into Boo and be introduced a lot more to the communication side of the sciences, to the democratizing of the tech and of the niche vocabularies, and to new ways to tell the stories of science. And a lot of the things that I get to study day to day, basically, they're small enough so that you only read about them on textbook pages, which is what you heard here. And so the first time I got to try VR with Boo, I was just incredibly excited about the idea of immersing yourself inside of the body and inside of the brain instead of seeing it at a distance, and what that could mean for kids to teens to college students in terms of getting excited about it, having agency in it, getting involved in the sciences. And so we got to pull together a really awesome team led by Boo, which includes another Adam, and João, who is leading our VFX.
It's like, hey, Adam.
Yeah, and
I'm super excited because João, the guy who's like leading VFX for this, he is the guy who did a lot of the VFX for a lot of, you know, Thor movies, Marvel movies, the Westworld opening. So we're taking science and we're making it awesome. We're making it Hollywood level graphics because scientists do change things.
And we got to present it at VR for Impact, which involved bringing it to Davos for the World Economic Forum, which was really exciting on the side of open access and education. And we've gotten to work with some wonderful folks. Aside from VR for Impact, Lobo has been on our post-production side, and I'm at the Media Lab. And
Mateus and Serginho, Elisa, Pihali.
So one of the wonderful things is that we can tie into the science expertise there, and then bring in folks like Boo who have expertise in building out the stories, in making the tech integrate well with the sort of visualizations we do in neuroscience. And so that's how our team functions. And we've got these two new episodes coming up. We'll show you a really quick preview of the optogenetics episode, which is basically a new, pretty revolutionary technology in neuroscience, which is a way to control neurons with light. You can do so more specifically, you can do so less invasively, you can do it more consistently. But just like with oncolytic virotherapy, if people don't understand, they're not going to get involved. It'll stay a niche and less diverse field. So hoping to make something beautiful, rock star level like the last one, so more folks can get involved. And then jumping into CRISPR next. But we just thought it'd be cool to show you a little bit of process stuff. So Boo, if you want to tell them about.
This is, by the way, how we're basically now, how many of you have tried Tilt Brush, the most basic application? Okay, so in the first pilot of Blank Canvas, we were actually doing a lot of the traditional VFX production, where we have 2D imaging, we have storyboards and everything.
It's intense.
So for optogenetics, we began to do everything inside VR. So we began working a lot with Tilt Brush, with Quill, with a lot of those things. And we began to take that to the next level, collaborating with our friends from Unity, with Amir, Timony, Dylan. We began to use Unity Labs tools to allow us to import Tilt Brush data files inside Unity and use something called Scene Fusion to collaborate with other researchers and collaborators that could be, for instance, at MIT. So we're in LA, and we're drawing something because we immerse ourselves into a lot of papers and studies and TED Talks by the researchers. And then we draw this thing inside Tilt Brush, and we have Adam and a team of PhDs, and we have the possibility to collaborate. And just to put that into context, a year ago, we sold a project to a brand that I cannot disclose, but for a price point that was close to $500,000 to do the same kind of functionality. That's kind of interesting. Why? Because we are open source people. So our goal with this is fine-tuning those tools in partnership with Unity and HTC, and actually sharing that with you all. Actually, we have Loridona and Elena here from VR SciFast, and we just began doing that. The first implementation of that just happened in VR SciFast in Stockholm, where Amir and I did a hackathon and shared some of those tools that we're using for Blank Canvas production.
And it's online for free on Steam.
It's online for free on Steam. And at the end of the talk, we're going to have like a slide with all the tools that we're using, so get ready to take some pictures of that. But what I mean is that any of you can just go and prototype to do something like what we're doing. And
a lot of this stems from the idea, no pun intended, that STEAM, the addition of ideas from the arts, from design, from communication, means more than STEM alone. And some of that involves sort of widening the minds of folks who are in the sciences and saying there are different avenues than pure paper publishing, and those avenues are still respectable, and you can still get peer review in those avenues, and you can work with folks to get a larger community inspired. I'm lucky enough to work in a lab that's really, really open to the idea of STEAM and working with folks like Boo. But I think that the larger science community it's something that they could really deeply benefit from. Specifically, like the next piece, which we're diving into, the optogenetics piece, which you'll see a quick preview of here, involves some really hardcore molecular science, bio, neuro PhDs, and getting them involved in the storytelling, saying, hey, we could start with you telling people how things work, and then we
This is the first time the world sees optogenetics. That's the first scene of optogenetics that people see.
And genuinely dive into the brain as you explain it and see it happening within your head while you tell the world how your science works. And so getting them involved also is super exciting.
And I mean, the brain is the most complex machine that we ever will, have the ability to study. And optogenetics is really giving us the ability to reverse engineer the most amazing, I'm not even going to call it computer because it's unfair. It's the most amazing system that the universe has created so far that we know. An Optogen, led by Professor Boyd and other researchers, it's the first real attempt that we have at reverse engineering this awesome system, and maybe apply that into computation and other things like biomimicry, other systems. There's a lot of room for improvement in a lot of areas.
Yeah, so on our end, it's this idea of taking really exciting new tech from the hardcore sciences and democratizing them through these new immersive experiences. But then there's other uses also in the same building where I work for VR, like jumping inside of tumor scans and using those immersive experiences to fight the cancer, which Ed Boyden, who's the same scientist Boo mentioned, who's leading optogenetics, is now using VR tools for diagnostics, which is super exciting.
And if I may just do a parenthesis on that, it's a question that we always have. Richard Dawkins asked me, but Boo, why VR? Why are you using VR instead of just a traditional video? And we always say that if you're using something like a video to explain how an HIV virus infects a T cell, for instance, that's the basic example. If you have video and you're zooming into a T cell, the T cell will take the entire screen, and the virus will be just a yellow dot. You cannot see detail on the virus. If you want to zoom into the virus will be the size of the screen, but then you lost track of the T cell. So you never have overview effects seeing both at the same time. In VR, you have that scale, so you can have a gigantic size cell, you can be inside of it, and you can see the virus in scale, so you can have big picture effects. On top of that, kids have the attention span shortening. So in VR, you can give full-time immersion and just do something better.
Yeah.
But in terms of scale, this is my head. This is visualizing MRIs and CT scans for surgical planning. There's a lot of research being done, and there's a lot of room for improving this. For instance, using AI for diagnostics and trying to find patterns, which is something that is not new at all. This is the Allosphere. It's from 2009. It was basically what got me into science and immersive technologies. It was basically this huge metal sphere where the best scientists in the world fought for 5-10 minutes, where they could put their data sets and analyze data sets from physics, biology in this place. But nowadays, everybody has access to at least a Google Cardboard, and that means everybody has access to a Holosphere, and that's huge for science and for mankind, I think, right? Mm-hmm. And then we get to discuss a lot of those ideas with folks like you. Those events are super important. Elena's there, Little House, and we're just discussing the future of scientific visualization with people like Isabelle Béjart from CERN. And we get to collaborate with those folks as, history is being made now, and it's very open, so you can be a part of it. We encourage you to get involved with this, please, and, take responsibility over some real-world issues. Do that.
Yeah, and it's hard to stress how important it is that how you see your data is how you interpret your data. And so diving in with new tools into something like a cancer diagnostic totally changes it. But specifically, I think we're really excited today about sharing the tools and sharing the methodology for how these kinds of experiences are created, cheap, mobile, flexible, with our team, and
yes.
Leading that.
So guys, please take a photo of this. I cannot express enough that 2 years ago when we did the pilot episode of The Blank Canvas, Lobo is a high-end CG studio with full capacity, 300 3D developers. It's not something that everybody has access to, but those tools, they basically take that level of refinement to anybody for free. So you can download most of them for free. Some of them cost like $1, $2, I don't know. but please, like, at least tilt brush. Get familiarized with tilt brush, not only for artistic and drawing, but try to note your, try to sketch your ideas. Try to use tilt brush as a brainstorming platform. That's a good case that I encourage you to use. You can also mix stuff like Watson. We recently did a project called the Cognitive VR Experience, where we basically put Watson inside this VR environment. And you can talk to Watson in natural language. And we connected Watson with Wikipedia, clinicaltrials.gov, and other scientific databases. So you can talk to Watson about anything, from biotech to rock and roll and the Beatles.
Yeah, so again, thinking about how you interact with science. So this was, in fact, like a glowing fire orb in a giant library. But you could speak to it, ask questions about papers, get responses from all the wealth of knowledge that Watson offers. But in this immersive experience, you can also drink fire, but that's separate.
If you want to see a trailer, just please look for Cognitive VR Experience.
Yeah, and same with Blank Canvas. Please look for it online at the Steam store. It's next to some things like Batman and Robin and Halo, but it's science, so it's cool.
Yeah, we're so happy that it went mainstream in that way. Like, yeah. HTC launched their 360 player, and our friend David called us one day, and he's like, man, we're picking up 8 experiences to just showcase at the launch of the 360 player. And he's like, okay, there's Halo, there's Batman, there's Hunger Games, there's all those blockbusters in Hollywood. And he's like, don't you guys want to do this? And let me tell you how Blank Canvas happened. Adam is a researcher, very devoted. We're very in love and passionate about the idea that science makes the world a better place. And we're very open about sharing this with everybody, right? And we did the first episode with almost 0 budget, with a lot of passion and awesome people that helped us in this amazing journey.
True.
And so right now, you can use those same tools to apply in your area, not necessarily for biotech, but maybe politics, maybe philosophy. We have our friend Assad here doing amazing projects. I encourage you to look for Terminal 3, by the way. And anyway, guys, that's what we always say, That's Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins. That's to set the mood. Yeah. So for real, we really think that technology is the means by which we're decommissioning natural selection. We're really taking, leadership. We're really taking responsibility over our evolution as a species, as a society. Let's make the world a better place, guys. That's our time. That's how we should do it in a very open way. Can't wait to see what you guys develop. Adam?
Come talk to us after about open science, democratizing that information, communication, and how it is that folks from different disciplines work together. Just really happy to be here.
Thank you so much.